Hi everyone, you're listening to Melanie John Therapy, and this is my very first podcast.
What's the beginning for us?
What was the beginning? Well, we started messaging, didn't we?
How do we start messaging?
We met on a very delightful dating app called, shall I name it?
Yeah.
Yeah, called Hinge. And I had literally downloaded it a few weeks prior. In all honesty, kind of out of boredom. I'd given myself this kind of time restriction of, I'm going to have a few months break of like dating or talking to people or anything. And I think it had been a couple of months and I was like, oh, I'm a bit bored. I think it was a quiet weekend. So I was like, right, I'm just going to have a look at Hinge, because I'd used Tinder a bit before and that was just bank of lunatics. So we started messaging on Hinge. I'm trying to think, who made the first contact on there?
You.
I think it was me. I think I liked something. I think I liked one of your.
You liked me, yeah. Yeah, no, you liked my
I liked one of your comments.
Yeah, it's my comment,
of your little profile, because I thought it was amusing. Yeah. And then.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, on Hinge, you basically have your profile. It's just a dating app like Tinder, but instead of swiping, you have a profile and
you can see a bit more info.
You fill it with text and images, and the person that comes across your profile has the opportunity to either like something you said as well as liking an image. You can't just swipe.
Yeah, and I think it's nice because whatever they kind of use algorithmically, you do get a little bit more of a feel for the person, and it's I just think it's a little bit better than something like Tinder, for example, depending on your objective, of course.
Well, anyway, yeah, so we matched. I think I was maybe in Russia or Spain.
No, you were in Spain.
Okay.
And I was in Cyprus. We were both on holiday.
Cool. Anyway, these boring details aside, I remember the first line I said to you, which is, "I like your face."
You did,
Do you remember what you said?
I said I grew it myself.
Yeah, which is a joke that's stolen from Friends, isn't it?
It wasn't stolen from Friends.
It was, because
It wasn't. It must have been like a subconscious thing, because I've been saying that for years.
Okay, but about 5 dates after, me and you were watching Friends, and that episode came on.
It wasn't 5 dates after, but I can't remember why we were just mooching about watching Friends.
Well, anyway,
I didn't steal the joke.
Sorry, can I carry on with your boring story?
Oh, right. So, we started off with a little bit of banter, didn't we? Mm-hmm. I think it was the banter that surprised you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. That was the main thing. Because, not to be rude, I've said this to you so many times, your profile looked so boring. And do you remember I said to you, I was like, the only thing that interested me...
Do you know what? It's all your compliments. That's what keeps me here.
But the thing that interested me is you had... your profession was listed as psychotherapist, and I was like, well, she looks like a substitute maths teacher or like a, anyway, doesn't matter what you look like. You looked attractive, but there was just no swag, no anything coming from your profile.
I think it's really hard to convey swag on those profiles.
Anyway,
banks, although you did it quite well, so maybe you should lead the masses.
But yeah, I remember thinking, oh, am I just messaging for the sake of messaging? Because I'd done that, I'd completed Tinder and the likes of the others, right? And I just thought, I completed them. And then I just thought, you know what? I don't know why, but yeah, I did reach out to you. And the first response, it was just bang, straight back at me. And then I hit back with something else, and you hit back straight away.
I wish I could remember. We said, didn't we? We wish we'd screen grabbed.
Yeah, I think I said something along the lines of, after you said that, I said something about my mum. My mum read your profile, and although it's revolving around mediocrity, she thinks you're great marriage material. And you said something about collecting husbands. Oh yeah,
I said I was thinking about starting a hobby collecting husbands, but I was going to go for old and rich first. But I said, I'll give you a go.
Anyway, so look, I think we're digressing slightly.
We are,
but the point is, we met, we started talking. we met, we started talking, we were getting on well.
Yeah.
And we met.
For a first date.
Yes. I think spare everyone the details of how the dates and stuff went. Really, what I think is interesting here is how me and you've got to the stage we're at now.
Yeah.
Because I've always carried a certain attitude, philosophy, approach to the way I emotionally invest myself into relationships, and I've been horrendous at showing strength and courage in relationships, because even when I know they wouldn't necessarily last, I would prolong them for my own benefit. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I think we've all had relationships. I mean, I know we both had an experience of quite long-term relationships that I think we allowed to kind of drag out rather than pull the plug when maybe we thought we should have. And I think what I found so interesting about us is that, for me personally, I went into it without a great deal of expectation. You know, we've both established we were kind of chatting to other people at the same time and stuff, like we, you know, as you do, keep your options open or whatever initially. And I think because I didn't have a great deal of expectation and I kind of went in very open-minded but also quite relaxed and not kind of pinning any particular agenda onto it, it just allowed me to kind of get to know you genuinely as you are.
That was one
I
of the
wasn't second guessing you. I think a lot of men can be quite tricky. I think a lot of girls...
People are.
Sorry, I shouldn't... You know, I'm kind of team girl, aren't I? But, you know, and I think that after having those kind of experiences, you know, your guard is definitely up. And in a way, you almost look for the loopholes to protect yourself, you know?
Yeah,
people
I
have
totally
that
agree.
mindset a lot. But I didn't have that with you, which was interesting.
But do you think I know why? Well, I think I know why that was, because the conversation we had pretty early on is you said to me, I'm just not into wasting time. And at that stage, I thought, you know what? You know, I'd come out of a relationship, I had my small moment of fun, and I thought to myself, just out of respect, I mean, I think it does depend on who you are as an individual, but I thought, actually, I don't want to disrespect you and waste your time. But at the same time, you know, I did want to meet you out of curiosity. It might have been absolutely nothing. Nothing may have come of it. But I just vowed that I'll be transparent with whomever I'm with and whatever I'm doing. So I guess you put your trust in me, and maybe I was able to convey that. I don't know. But what I do know is that pretty early on, we had a conversation. We both pretty much said, look, I am going to give you the truest version of me, so you can decide straight away whether that's something you like or not. Because 2, 3, 5, 6 years down the line, I assume this is who I'm still going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the main...
I guess I think when I said to sort of, you know, I don't want to waste my time, I don't think I realised when I said it in that moment that I was kind of establishing a little boundary early on, which was like, you know, if you're just looking for hookups or whatever, then I'm not really interested. Because although I wasn't looking necessarily for a relationship, I wasn't looking for nonsense either. Like, you know, I value my time.
And I think you need to... It's a difficult task, but to be in that position, you need to find somebody that will respect that.
Yeah.
And you have to be a respectful person to kind of abide by the rules that someone's potentially set, right?
Yeah.
So I think we were lucky in that sense, because we could have had that with them. We probably have had that with other people. That just...
I think it just worked because I was sort of... I think I've been really receptive to you, like you just said, giving me the truest version of you, and that was quite unique for me, particularly where men are concerned. I don't think I have often had the truest version of people. So to kind of have that real, genuine, really honest and openness, I think it meant that I was able to kind of reciprocate that and to you know, really respond to that really positively. And it was a completely new experience for me as well. Yeah.
That's what makes... I think that's why you had your guard up in the first place. It was so difficult. I'm sure so many people can relate to it. You're in a relationship and this isn't even just relationship, this is friends as well. And it's almost like you enter it like a sales role. You like sell the idea or sell your product or sell whatever it is to somebody because you want something, and you make the transaction as desirable as possible. Just, loosely speaking, a guy might say, I'm financially stable, I'm happy, I'm independent, X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
And, that looks really appealing to a woman, for example. It's a very general statement. But anyway, you get into a relationship and somebody upholds that persona or that character for as long as they can until they can no longer be bothered to play that avatar. And then once that's done, are you okay? Cool. Once that's done, I think Mel's getting emotional. Just realising how great I am. Once that's done...
I'm really not.
They're so fed up of playing that character, they just can't commit to playing it anymore. And then eventually the true version of them comes out.
Yeah.
And maybe some fibs come out. I don't know. Maybe just the character that they've been hiding comes out. You can't hold it back for any longer. And at that point, you're exposed to the truth version. And then your relationship is tested because it's like, well, can I accept that the true version of who I have committed or potentially going to commit to? And at that point, you make the decision, well, yes, and there's parts of me that are going to be unhappy, or no, and something needs to change.
Yeah.
And I think the problem I've experienced, I don't know about you, is I've been like, yeah, I will accept that, and almost, I would say, lie to myself at times and be like, it's okay, and then work on my own journey whilst in that relationship, but at the same time neglecting the potential journey that I could be on if I wasn't in that situation. Even though I was still focusing on myself and thought I'm still going to achieve my goals and this, and this will only last for however long.
Yeah.
Anyway, once again, kind of digressing a bit, but the point the point is you can't keep up that character for so long. So me and you just base this on transparency, and I think that's the key to all relationships.
Absolutely.
Family, friends, everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if there's been moments where I've had a little wobble, I think you're the first person I've come to be like, like if I've had a bad day at work or something, I think there's been a couple of things that I've spoken to you about. And I don't think on reflection, like I would have had those conversations with people that I've either been in a relationship with or been dating before. That conversation might be something I say for my girls and I'll moan to the girls about it. And then you're all smiles in front of your partner or person at the time. But with you, I feel like we've got that depth of friendship as well.
Yeah, that's important as well. Because if you think, when you have a friend, what makes certain friends so great, like your best friends, is you can be the truest version of you to them. And that, the truest version, is based on transparency once again, right? So yeah, I think that, anyway, that's what we've possibly established. And I think that's why, although we're in lockdown now, and that's forced us to kind of live with each other. Well, we agreed to isolate together, but being transparent, being in lockdown, being exposed to the truest version of me and you, almost makes things progress quicker than I feel is comfortable.
Well, look, we went from dating each other, we were seeing each other, twice a week at the most? Sort of sometimes midweek and weekends, or sometimes it might just be weekends, depends what we were getting on with. Yeah, that kind of started
probably like end of Jan, Feb, right? At that point when we started to see each other like twice a week if we could.
Yeah, I think up until that point it was probably just at the weekends, wasn't it? I can't really remember.
Well, one time I went away, there was a big period of time.
We had a full month gap.
Yeah.
And so we kind of went from that pattern, and obviously we were speaking every day and stuff like that, but from that to suddenly isolating together and being together 24 hours a day, all day, every day, and essentially stuck in the house. So, I mean, I think a lot of my friends and stuff were like, oh, it's trial by fire, because, this is a real test of whether you're actually, what do I want to say, into
people say compatible, but
I guess compatible, well...
But how long is it until you expose the true version of you and realise whether you actually like him or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You could have had, like, horrendous habits that drove me up the wall, for example.
Yeah, I suppose we wouldn't have known about that until we lived together, which is what we've done, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is the thing as well. One thing that I really think makes us work so well, and, you know, I could be jumping the gun here because 2 weeks' time I might see that you're still on Tinder and I'm joking, but you know what I mean, right? Now, one thing I think that makes us work so well is we both want, and this is what I was speaking to you about the other day in the kitchen. Like, do you think that we were both just looking to find somebody who wanted progression? Because there are certain things, like, it's not even about habits around this place, that it's like, if I see you doing something, I want to help you. I don't want to go and wash up. I don't want to empty the dishwasher like this morning. I didn't want to take the bowls and plates from the table there and start putting stuff in the dishwasher. But for me, it was a case of laughing.
Don't worry, we'll get a maid.
but yeah, it was like, I'm doing this for you. And the reason why I'm doing this for you, even if you don't notice it, is because I want to continue progressing in the relationship. Everything I do, it's about, right, what can I do to make her life a bit better? What can I do to be the best version of me possible that I'm happy with being, and I know that I'm not going to give up on, you know, a couple of years down the line.
Do you know what I think it really highlights? I think we've got a very good, like, balance. We in terms of the amount of energy and effort that we put in for one another. And I think we've got a really healthy mutual respect.
But how do you get to that point? Because it's easy to say to someone, you need to have, you know, mutual respect. Yeah, it makes, you know, okay. Well, what does that even mean?
I suppose it depends what respect means to the individual people, but for me, it's a sense of appreciation and a display of willingness. I think they're the two things for me.
But you know what, I feel like that comes under almost. I feel like at the top, right? And if you can't see me, but I've got my hand held really high.
Really high!
At the top, it's like, I see, and I don't know if this is the case for you, but my goal is, like, I want us to have the best relationship possible. So every single thing I do that comes below that is what's working towards that point at the top. So whether that means respecting you, whether that means contributing to things that make you happy, all of these small things that I do contribute to me feeling good and positive about myself, because I know that they're fulfilling the small steps that are taking me to that peak.
Oh, that's really nice.
I mean, it's nice. It's a little bit selfish, if that makes sense, but it's still, isn't
What
it?
isn't selfish? I think we're all self-driven at the end of the day. We could probably... We'll save that for another podcast, shall we?
But I think because we've got... Well, I feel like you've got that peak vision in mind as well, like get to the top. So I think we both have that, I think we both do those things and it works. It works well together.
Do you know what? I think we have a really... very much like a shared vision.
Yeah, that's a better
for what
way to
we
say
want
it.
from a relationship.
Could have said that 5 minutes ago before I started doing my peak with my hand.
The therapist will just tie it up in a little bow for you. A shared vision for our relationship. And I think that within itself creates that equal balance. You know, I don't want... this is absolutely no judgment on anyone for what they want from a relationship, but you see some relationships where the man just wants to earn the money and the woman just wants to stay home or whatever, and if that works for them, brilliant. And that was really, really gender stereotyping there. So, or the other way around, a house husband and the woman goes to work, whatever. I just want to clarify that. But...
You're sexist, carry on.
But for me, I want, and I think you know, feel the same, I want a partnership.
Yes.
I want us to both be working, to both be contributing, and not just financially, I mean to creating a space in a home that we're happy with, and to both have goals. And we don't necessarily have to have exactly the same goals, but for me it's a partnership. We stand shoulder to shoulder.
But we do have one main goal, and that is to create a partnership that we're happy with.
Yeah.
So all the small actions
build up to that.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like I was thinking today, like, because obviously I know, you know, I do a lot of cooking and stuff, and I think part of that, I mean, I love cooking, but also it's a way of me showing you nurture as well.
Because like I said to you, even literally before we started recording this, I have never in my life, obviously apart from my mother and growing up, had anybody cook for me as much as you do. And I feel awful because I basically just stopped cooking. And it's not to do with the fact that I have the most
I know, no, I'm joking.
basic meals that you get, you know, like, I'm the sort of person who'd be like, right, is there vitamins in that? Yes. Is there carbs in that? Yeah. Is there protein in that? Yeah. Whack it all in a tin, stir it, maybe heat it for a minute, even if it's not meant to be heated. And
Delightful.
Put it in my mouth. Yeah,
Delicious.
But anyway. But that stuff aside, I think, what we were talking about, basically met, that happened to us. And why do you think it is then? Why do you think that so many people fail to meet somebody?
I think that... do you know what? I think it has a lot of different aspects to it, but I think a main thing, and I'll speak for the female side of the population, obviously very generally, but what I do see is that women seem to put up with a lot of crap, and I think it's because I believe anyway, that it stems from a lack of self-value as an individual, as a single person, and somewhere along the line there's been this ingrained societal idea that you put up with crap because it's better to be with someone than to be alone. Yeah. And I see that with men as well. Don't get me wrong, like, I think men do it too, and I think that it all stems from a real lack of self-respect and self-value.
Yeah, I guess the typical kind of story you hear is the guy's lazy and the woman's always nagging. Right? I know that's you know, a bit of a silly thing to say, but truth be told, that's like the gender stereotypes or the roles that are played in modern society for relationships, right? Typically, if we're thinking about like the average relationship that has issues.
Do you know what I think? I honestly believe that people, without the real sense of consciousness, will cultivate a situation to fit their vision. And what they're really doing is putting a square peg in a round hole. And eventually it's not going to fit. And and again, I think it stems from that fear of being alone, or from that idea, that societal false idea that you are not of value unless you're in a relationship. Make sense?
So what do you think makes you and I, because I know a lot of people have said to me, oh, honeymoon period, you know, it will go soon. For me, the honeymoon period doesn't exist for us because, I mean, technically on paper, yes, it does. We're at early stages, things can still be more, you know, experiences can be heightened due to the fact that they're newer. But I think we went into this almost disregarding the fact that the honeymoon period exists, because it was like the experiences you're getting from me now, apart from what's happening to you like intrinsically in terms of chemical release and stuff, are going to be exactly the same from me performance-wise. Yeah. So it's not like anything's actually going to change. And that's like something I stick to. Like, I'm really adamant about that.
Do you know what? It's funny that you say it, because I feel like we've skipped the honeymoon period. And that probably sounds quite strange. What I mean is, it's not... I don't have that kind of superficial, fluffy feeling that you get from the honeymoon. I feel like we've actually skipped forward, and I feel like what we have is a lot deeper than that.
You know, this might sound a bit controversial, especially if, you know, you like to think emotionally.
I think that's important.
Yeah, it is, right? I feel like we had a really logical approach to this.
Yeah.
And I think we both agreed on the logic, and that's why it's worked so well. Because knowing you for such a short period of time, like I said, it's been really uncomfortable, and I've had to speak to my friends about this. You made me have a complete and utter paradigm shift. The way I perceived life and my personal journey was completely shattered. You know, and this is something I think we both said as well. I was more than willing to be a single father. You know, I don't know if you could have a sperm donor as a lady, but
an egg donor.
An egg donor, yeah.
Sperm donor. Yeah. Someone didn't pay attention in biology.
But yeah, you know what I mean. So, all jokes aside, I genuinely thought to myself, do you know what? The way things are going and the way society's set up, I can't see myself meeting a partner who has the same ideals and philosophy that I do. So it doesn't scare me to be alone at 40 or raising a child on my own. That was quite a comfortable idea.
Interesting.
But meeting you, right? And there's lots of amazing women out there who I would look at and think, you know, you would be a great partner, or you'd be a great mother, or whatever role they'd have to play, they'd be great at, but just not for me. And you actually changed that for me, which was really uncomfortable, because I remember thinking quite early on, I didn't say this to you or my friends, but I remember thinking, if this is her in 10, 20 years, like this would be somebody that I would comfortably live with. This is somebody that I would happily raise children with. Look, obviously you can't, it's silly for me to say that on a podcast, because people don't understand the depth of conversation we've had.
Yeah.
But the morals, the values, the principles that you want to install into your children or your family is something that I want to do. So we work together towards that. And where I haven't had that before, I didn't ever really think about having kids. And this is what's interesting, because I was speaking to my friend the other day, and he was saying, children aren't something on the agenda at the moment. And I remember thinking the exact same thing. It was only once I met you that actually changed for me. Anyway, the main reason I'm sharing this is because, and I completely forgot the main reason. Oh yeah, that was it. We were talking about, men being lazy, etc. I think, because I've been that lazy person. And it's only once I met you I had the paradigm shift, because I'm like, oh my God, I've got all of these values, morals, principles, whatever it might be. I've basically got a mentality that I carry and have carried that I can't seem to shift. And as soon as I met somebody that, was almost like simultaneously aligned with that from the stage that I was starting at, all of the laziness, all of the attitude, all of the excuses, everything disappeared. It was like, no, this is now that I found somebody who I'm compatible with for the right reasons, I'm happy to put in 101% daily. And I think that there's potentially a lot of, I'm just going to say guys in this instance, because I was saying that they were lazy, because I've been a lazy guy. I think there's a lot of guys that are in the situation where actually they're probably not lazy. They're probably not crap partners. They're probably just with the wrong person. And as a result, not that fulfilled, not that happy, and not pursuing the activities that would give them the fulfillment that they're trying to reach long term. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think you can say it for men, I think you can say it for women, I think you can say it for men and men and women, like whatever your preference. Yeah. I think that is like that's a pandemic for people relationship wise.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of relationships, some friends or people that I know, or where they'll have situations where they're really not happy with their partner, or they've had a bit of an argy-bargy or something, but yet they still don't talk about it. They just let it kind of blow over. I just did in inverted commas with my fingers, not that you can see that, and just kind of, don't speak for a little while, and then let the dust settle and just pretend like it never happened, and actually they're not having a genuine conversation. Oh,
that can be opened up into so many different avenues.
I think we could probably save that for another day.
But we're probably around about the half an hour mark, and obviously this is just like our first time, I suppose, introduction to us, right? Even though we didn't necessarily introduce ourselves too much, but
we're such rookies.
Why does your face go to the side every time you laugh? Like you laugh onto your shoulder, as if you're telling a joke to the rest of your body. Look forward.
What, a laugh straight in your face?
Remember the Thriller dance when they do that? That's what
I told you I could dance.
Yeah, you liar. But anyway, should we wrap it up for today? And then what we can do is obviously...
we'll do another one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to discuss still.
I hope that this was helpful for people.
I hope it was as well.
And I think we can get into the nitty-gritty another time. We'll pick like one particular agenda.
But if there's anything that... If there is anybody listening, there should be, but we're going to send this to friends and family.
Would like maybe relationship advice? We could do stuff like that.
There's lots. I mean, could we arrogantly say we could give out relationship
advice? I'm on paper a therapist, so I can do a lot of things.
Good.
And you can you're like motivational. You really are. Like, you motivate me a lot, so...
That's true. Might not be motivating to Fred Smith, generic name, who might be listening. Anyway, if somebody is listening, if there's something they want to... why are you laughing? Fred Smith could be a real person.
I just don't think that... I think we might trim this bit off.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we're going to keep it. I think, what I'm basically getting at is if there's anything specific that somebody wants to hear or talk about, let us know and we'll try to cover it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just call it a day.
Yes, have a great day, peeps.
Bye, have a good time.